You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode will gather, perhaps a cocktail in hand, to discuss it all. I'm your host, Matt Jennings, aka Lilith Comeswell. And with me today are Amy and Mark. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I have a nice cocktail in hand today. This is odd. I went for a gin and tonic, but then I changed my mind at the last minute and I made a Mai Tai. I made a Mai Tai because when I was thinking about Doris, I was thinking about colorful, fruity drinks, and I was like, oh, Doris.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me on again. So glad to be back. And what an amazing movie. And I was channeling Doris and Mark. So I have with me a flavored gin, which is the berry flavored gin and tonic with a little bit of raspberries in there just to top things off.
Listeners, you should see, it just seems like every time that Amy comes on, the drinks are just so pretty. They're like the raspberries in there, the color, it's gorgeous. Also, I was today years old when I found out that there was flavored gin. I didn't know that was even a thing.
Oh, it is a thing, and I am now loving it. And I give thanks to Calvin and James in Manchester, UK, to introduce me to it. And when I came home, I went straight to the liquor store and I got a blueberry and the mixed berry, and I just love them both.
Oh man, it sounds scrumdiddlyumptious.
Yes.
So, listeners, if you're wondering where Mr. Laz Marquez is, regretfully, he's not here today. He is designing the new album artwork for the next Baby Goya CD. So he's hard at work at that. I believe he's taking some photos of a somewhat attractive woman in her 60s. And he's going to do some sort of art with that. So listen, we love Laz and can't wait to have him back, but he is away this week.
Love you, Laz.
Love you, Laz.
And Matt, what are you drinking today?
Oh, you know me. I'm so classy as always. Today, I picked up from the gas station a Mike's Harder. This is pineapple and mandarin flavored.
So classy. So classy.
So classy. Moving on, let's take a look at some of our feedback. On Patreon, we have Matt Harker, who's very enthused to see the Batman Returns episode drop. He posted, Yes.
Thanks, Matt. Glad you were excited. Hope you liked the episode.
Yes.
And Mel Larson on Twitter, she writes, catching up on my favorite pod. Finally, sorry, fellas. Movie peeps, take time for yourself, all caps, and listen to Cinema Z Pod. This episode is about Shop Girl. I have listed forever. I like how it's said the Shop Girl isn't the center of her own story. And Matt, GS coolers, question mark? What was the GS coolers? I don't know. What were you drinking that episode?
What is a GS cooler? Is it something that I said in that episode and now I don't remember? Oh, gosh.
Oh, maybe.
Too. And I was on that episode too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Mel will be excited that you've joined us again.
Hi,
awesome.
Mel.
Hey,
Yay.
Mel.
Hi, Mel. All right. Well, let's dig on into the film here. Hello, my name is Doris. Was directed by Michael Showalter. I swear to God, I might be messing up your last name, Michael. I apologize. And it was written by Laura Taruso. The film follows Doris, a woman in her mid-60s living in the home of her recently deceased mother. At the funeral, Doris' brother Todd and his wife Cynthia try to persuade her to sell the house and the possessions she has accumulated as a result of hoarding. On her way to work, where she has stayed for decades, she meets the new young co-worker John, and immediately becomes infatuated with him. Empowered by self-improvement tapes, Doris decides to pursue a better life and John. This movie, it's very near and dear to me for a lot of reasons. I think the first time that I saw this movie, I think I saw the movie as a story about someone choosing themselves for the first time in their lives. And I don't know, I was probably on the same journey at that time, which is probably the reason why I saw what I saw. When I watched this movie again this time around, I realized that it's a coming of age story. I mean, it says it in some of the descriptions for the film, as well as some of the breakdowns for the movie, depending on where you're going to rent it or buy it from. But after watching it this second, third, or fourth time around, I realized, yeah, this really is a coming of age story as well. But I still really like the aspect of a person choosing themselves and seeing what that looks like for someone at this stage in their life.
I watched this, I think, when it came out originally. I saw the trailer and saw all of the things that I thought would be great. You know, you get Sally Field, for God's sake, in it. And who doesn't love Sally Field?
Yes.
You have like this really cool concept, and you don't see a lot of stories of not only women, like, as you know, like a romance from her perspective, which you don't really get a lot of, but this is also a story of a woman of a particular age, right? And not only that, but having a friendship / relationship with a younger man, which, okay, you really don't ever see. This movie is a unicorn. It really is something quite different. And my entire life, since I was a little kid, I've always been friends with people that were older than me, either 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 years older than me. I gravitate towards people with a little bit more life experience. So I can relate somewhat, to having friends in different age groups. Also, I tend to be friends with really eclectic people. I have friends. I have one friend in particular that's pretty much Doris. Like, I know a Doris, and I'm good friends with her. And I just love her to pieces. And so seeing like a trailer for this movie, I was like, wow, like I can relate to this so much. And I thought it would be hilarious. And then it was more hilarious than I thought it was going to be. So I was delighted.
Am I your Doris?
You're not, Amy. Sadly, you're not that old.
Well,
you're not old enough to be my Doris, Amy.
I definitely feel like Doris in so many situations, and we will get to that later. So I feel like this is why you guys asked me on, because here's this older, mid-aged woman.
Oh, God. You're not even as old as Doris was. You're like 10 years younger or 15 years younger than Doris.
But you're right. They're definitely this, winter, spring romance usually is the older guy with the much younger woman. And the roles have been flipped. Yeah. So, yeah, shop girl. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So to see Sally Field, portrayed in her 60s, and it never says what age she is, which I totally love, because I'm like, sometimes she's like, she feels really old, and then sometimes she's running down the hall and bouncing at the concert and getting on someone's shoulders. Like, okay, she's not that old. Yeah. But I absolutely loved seeing that. And there's so much about Doris that I love, and so much about Doris that she needs to work through. And so that character arc through this movie is just brilliant to see. And like John and the other characters, they really are secondary. This is a story about Doris, and I love it.
100%. Absolutely. I wanted to ask this question, and I mean, we can get as deep as we want. We can be as basic as we want, because I know this might be a somewhat invasive question and a very vulnerable question to ask, but I figured I would ask. So, Doris, has quite an awakening in this movie. She steps into what seems like to be herself for the first time ever. Can both of you tell me about a time or the first time that you chose yourself or you realized that you were choosing yourself?
Well, there is a very distinct time in my life when I was 35, being born and raised in Utah. And if you understand the subcontext of that, listeners, that means I was born and raised Mormon. And with all of that and the expectations of being this mother and a wife, and I was not achieving that. I was still single. I had a lovely career in teaching, doing things, but under the expectation of I need to be this so that I could go to heaven, or, whatever the jargon was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved away and came to Las Vegas, I met many more diverse people. Dated my first Black man, absolutely loved it, changed my perception. And I just realized that I was living for someone else's expectations and not fulfilling what I truly wanted.
Yeah.
And so at the age of 35, which I feel is really late, but grateful that I had that, where I could turn and say, okay, I'm going to live for myself right now. I'm not living for the future. I, of course, still am working on that because I'm a big planner, but living for now, and that I make the choices and I deal with the consequences. You don't escape consequences. Like me leaving the church, me, leaving the state had huge implications, and I accept those consequences. But that was when I really chose myself for the very first time.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for feeling comfortable enough to share that. I appreciate that.
It's important, though. I really believe it's important that you choose yourself. And so if that story, even as late as it was, I mean, a lot of people figure things out sooner than me, but at least you get there. Like, at least you can find that, and at least you can then live how you choose to live.
Yeah.
Be your best.
I mean, there are some people that don't choose that, and I feel like I've kind of seen it play out a little bit. Granted, so some of those people are still living, so they still have time, and I don't think it's
never
ever
too
late. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it is, I think, scary to be on the outside and to watch someone constantly look themselves over again and again.
And one thing that going through that, you really know the people who love you, because the people that stayed with me and were true and that loved me, like my mom, like that was important.
Oh.
So it's good to have strong people in your life to get you through these transitional times.
And, as well, for those people that stay with you through those transitions, I think, a beautiful thing is when that person notices that new thing about you, and then they go, oh, cool. Okay. All right. Well, tell me about this thing. Or, it doesn't faze them to the point that they just accept it and they go, okay, all right. We were going to go to the coffee shop. You ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
There's such a freedom in it and a beauty in that. I'll expand, but I want to pass it over to Mark.
So for me, I mean, I was raised in northern Maine. I grew up in the 90s, and there wasn't a lot of diversity. I didn't know, really any other queer people. And I was, raised Catholic, and my whole family was, and very strong Catholic background. I'm very devout. So I was not only in church, but Sunday school and then prayer meetings and choir and all that stuff. And it was pretty well indoctrinated through like high school and college. And so I can remember specifically being 5 years old and knowing that something was wrong with me, and that if people knew who I was really, that I would be shunned by everybody that said that they loved me. And so I felt fundamentally something was wrong with me, right? Since I was 5. And I struggled with that such a long time, and through high school, college. And I was, I think I was still in college, and I had decided to take my own life, and had attempted to, and I had an option after that to try again, obviously, or try to live a different way and live a way that was more for me than for the happiness of others, no matter how close they were to me. And so I had to make that choice. And I decided at that point to live every day after for me. And also, and this has been a struggle since then too, and it's a daily struggle. I think it'll always be a struggle, but to give myself the grace that I would give another human being, because it's not been a perfect road. I have made many, many mistakes. There's been people that have been hurt by me, and I've done things that have hurt myself. But rather than continuing to use those things, I guess, to continue to cause more pain because I've had enough, I try to use these as lessons to just keep going forward, try to do better next time, but give myself a wider berth. It's not always easy, but I know I can do it with other people, with friends. If I had a friend that went through the same thing, I would say, "Oh no, it's okay. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm still here. I'm your friend." So being able to pivot and treat yourself that same way is something that I've had to learn. But yeah, it came out of that one moment where I just decided to walk a different path, more for me.
Isn't it so bizarre how forgiving we are of others and of ourselves? It's just insane. It's like we have to go through mental gymnastics just to say, okay, I made a mistake. Now let's move on. It's so hard.
It's very hard.
It's every day. You got to work at it. It's not easy.
That's absolutely right, Mark. It's every day. It is an active choice to love yourself and to choose yourself every day. It's really something that you have to work on, especially if our default setting, our default teaching is to take care of the other person, look after the other person. I know with myself, in terms of choosing myself, I ended a relationship that lasted almost 10 years, and there were things that I did that were not great, and things that I can't take back, and things that person probably will never forgive me for, or has forgiven me for and doesn't want me in their lives anymore. And I totally understand, and I totally get it. And also on the opposite end, I realized that in order for me to be who I truly am, I had to move on from that relationship to give myself permission to be myself, because I think in that relationship I was asking permission, and the permission was denied multiple times. I think at a certain point, this person tried to give me space to be who I was, but I think by then it was too late. And so, stepping away from that, even though that relationship had its issues, it was still almost 10 years of you building something with somebody. And walking away from that was petrifying. I think that for me, that's one of the first times that I've chosen myself And again, with Mark, like what you were saying, it being an active choice to choose yourself over and over again, I still have to tell myself that it's okay that I chose to end the relationship, that I don't deserve for something bad to happen to me, that I don't have to pay a penance for taking care of myself. To bring that thing to a close, listeners, choose yourself. Choose yourself. It's an active choice every day. Please choose yourself. Love yourself. Be good to yourself. As Jill Scott said, love yourself, and then we can really start loving each other.
Yeah, it takes courage. I mean, like with you, Matt, to leave 10 years, you have to have the strength and the courage to say, all right, what's out there? Because you don't know. You've been in the comfort.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so to go outside, I mean, with all of us, to go outside of where we're comfortable takes courage. And so hats off to everyone who does it.
Go boldly.
A wise motivational speaker once said, there are 7 days a week, and someday isn't one of them.
Now, how perfect who's that actor that plays the motivational speaker? He is so
he was in American Beauty too. He played
he
played the guy that Annette Bening cheated on her husband with.
Yeah, he's real famous. It's just so
guy.
funny because he has this just cheesy look that's total motivational speaker.
Oh, absolutely. Oh man, it's in the trivia. Hold on. Peter Gallagher.
Yes.
Listeners, I'm telling you, if you have not seen this movie, Peter just eats up the character, and it's so good to watch.
I feel like he's like that in real life. That's probably why he keeps getting typecast.
Yeah, he's typecast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on to something fun, something that we all love to do, is our director's cut.
Woohoo!
We're gonna do a little bit of a table read and read off some of our favorite scenes from Hello, My Name is Doris. This first scene, we've got Roz, we've got a jogger, and we've got Doris. Who wants to play who?
I picked this scene. I want to be Doris.
Mark is Doris. I think I want to be the jogger.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Darn it. I really wanted to, but that's okay.
No, you can do the jogger. You can do the jogger, and I'll do Roz.
All right.
Action.
Just me and the cats now. I hope I don't end up like one of those weird New Yorkers you read about that chokes on a peanut and dies, and nobody even misses me until the smell of my decomposing body seeps through the walls.
Oh, honey, I would miss you. I would.
Get in the slow lane, ladies.
You go eat some kale.
She gave us the finger, Roz. Give her the finger.
Fascist.
No, Roz, no.
Oh, you'd better run.
Cut.
She was running. That jogger had some intensity after that.
Oh, that scene right at the beginning, it just struck me, and I was like, yeah, because I'd seen the movie before, but I was like, yeah, this really shows off the dynamic of their friendship a little bit. I think it shows Doris being a little eccentric. I love that rant. It's a complete run-on sentence. There's no periods in the script. She just keeps speaking about her decomposing body, and I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. I love it. Oh man. Dark humor.
There's two things about this scene why I love it. Number one is I feel like this movie is a social commentary on how people treat older women specifically. And so you've got this jogger where it's like, she's like scooting in between them and like get in your own lane.
Get in the slow lane.
Get in the slow lane. Yeah. And I also like this because I feel like Doris, she's obviously has some social anxiety, but she's aware enough to know that she's socially awkward. She's like, I'm going to be one of those old cat ladies that dies. And, so she's aware of her own awkwardness. And this comes out right at the beginning of the movie.
That's true. She's self-aware.
That's so interesting. I didn't see any of that until you both mentioned it in this scene that I just took for granted and took as comedic. That was that. Thank you.
It's deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot in this movie that I love.
Yeah.
I love that she calls her a fascist.
Because Tin Daly, we all know she's right there.
That's great.
All right. And moving on to scene 2. This scene is between John and Doris. I chose this scene because I think this is a pivotal moment where both the characters that are, I mean, not that John is the focus of the movie, but he's one of the primary secondary characters, if that makes any sense. And is somewhat the love interest of Doris. Anyway, they both kind of peel back their layers in this moment, and I thought it was very interesting, especially for Doris. So that's why I picked this scene. Who wants to be who?
I'll read.
Okay. What part do you want to play?
I don't care. You choose.
You don't care? Okay. I'll be Doris.
Okay.
Action.
You ever been in love?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Come on. I feel like I've just spilled my guts on the floor to you with this. And it's your turn. I'd like to know.
I was engaged once.
Were you really?
Yeah, I really was. I was in my early 20s, and his name was Arthur, and he was a journalism student at a city college. And we met at a bar in the village, and I was with my friend Roz, and he was with his friend Peter, and they ordered drinks and then sat down at our table with us, and we just talked and talked and talked. And he loved folk music and foreign films, and he had brown eyes and a big smile, and we just spent every moment together. And he took me to all these foreign films that were really weird. And then one night he was taking me home on the ferry, and it was really bumpy. I remember it was all really rocky and bumpy, and he got down on one knee and he fell over, and we laughed, and he took out a little ring, and he asked me to marry him, and I said yes. And then he got a job working on a newspaper in Flagstaff, Arizona, of all places. And he asked me to go with him, and I couldn't leave my mother. That it would have killed her to leave her alone. And he left, and I stayed, and that's that.
Cut.
This scene was so needed to know that Doris had this opportunity, made the choice. Like, it filled in so much of what we know about her with this one scene.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't, because some people might say it could be the performance, could be the way it was written. I think that it's not exposition, where in another case it could be seen as exposition. It was just so beautifully performed, and I think beautifully written. Like, I can see all of this. I can see the ferry. I can see the ferry being rocky and her fiance, falling over. I can see the moment where she decides to stay in New York and not go be with her husband to be. And it's heartbreaking. And I thought it was so well done.
In another actress's hands that's less qualified, we wouldn't have bought it. But Sally Field is such a skilled actress. And not only is she a skilled actress, but she brought her life to the character and to the part, her lived experience. And I feel like she was able to emote in such a realistic way that it wasn't acting at that point. Like, I totally bought that this, in that moment, that character of Doris was real, because Sally Field was manifesting Doris in that moment. And she had so many examples through this film where she had a lot of these lines that are essentially just run-on sentences and word soup, and she played it just like, incredible. It was so good. Yeah.
She has this thing where, like you were saying, Mark, with those words that could just be filler, she endows it with something. And there's an honesty in her work, and it's something where when she gives something to those one words, those two words, you want to know what was there. You want to know the history there, because you can see the history in just those two words, and you want to know, what did you go through to get there? Viola Davis, I think, has that as well in her performances, where you see her deliver something, deliver a piece of text in a certain way, and you want to go, oh wait, what was that? I just saw that. What was that? I want to see what happened. So, Mother Field, please, you're phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on to scene number 3. I'm already laughing because I love this scene so much. I think this is a lover's quarrel, because this is another intimate relationship that we have, and it's not an intimate relationship between lovers, it's an intimate relationship between friends, and we're seeing it reach a certain height here. And I think it is both heartbreaking and funny at the same time. And the way that the scene ends, it ends with a certain kind of humor that I think maybe all of us, we have that relationship with that friend where we get so heavy with each other, and then they just come in and they cut the tension with this humor that might just be out of nowhere and so inappropriate. But at the same time, it's necessary to keep you from going overboard. So I really want to play Roz in this. I really want to do Roz.
All right. Play Roz.
All right, Mark, you do Doris.
I'll be Doris. I was expecting you to want to be Doris, so I was reading all of Roz's part preemptively. Because I was like, oh, he's gonna want to be Doris. But no, okay, this is great. This is great. All right. This is what Director's Cut segment's all about. We don't rehearse anything. So I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna be Doris.
We are going in raw.
Ooh, raw ducking it. Careful.
I don't want a kink shame.
We don't want a kink shame.
Use your prep. Anyway.
This episode has been sponsored by Prep.
Yes.
Google it.
Listeners, if you don't know what it is, Google
Get
it and use it. Get some. Everybody should use some. Really.
Everybody. Straight people too.
Yes. Everybody should be on it.
Okay.
And then go and have your fun. Okay.
Action.
It's tradition, Doris. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm making 2 kinds of stuffing.
Roz, this is my big opportunity. It's my chance to be with John.
Can you be honest with yourself? He's barely old enough to vote.
He probably votes more than you do.
I'm a conscientious objector. That's different.
Oh, Roz, honestly, I just don't think this is a big deal.
You're not like them. Don't you get that?
Why are you doing this? You were so supportive.
I'm having a rare moment of clarity.
You're jealous because I'm having fun with other people and it's just not you.
Oh, you wish.
Roz, there has to be more to life than going to lectures at the YMCA and stealing cheese. I mean, your husband died. He died. It was tragic, but that was like 15 years ago. Move the fuck on.
You're telling me to move on. You have packets of duck sauce in your refrigerator from the 1970s.
It keeps.
Oh, honey, darling, don't you see? You're just a weird little old lady in the funny clothes to them. You're like the weird fucking art project.
You take that back.
Doris, I'm worried about you.
You're not my mother. My mother is dead, so you can stop worrying about me. I can take care of myself.
Oh, I don't steal cheese. The cheese is free.
Cut.
Bravo, you guys. Oh my gosh, I was there in the moment. You brought it to us.
I love that scene so much.
Oh my God.
It is a lover's spat.
It's a lover's spat. Just like the duck sauce and the cheese.
Gosh. Yes.
I feel so seen. Oh my God. Thank God I live with Andy, because you know what? He's always going through the fridge and he's like, Mark, this mozzarella stick is from, 2021. It's like, we're throwing it away.
Now, seriously, how many packets of soy sauce or duck sauce do you have in your kitchen right now?
Oh, I got a drawer. That's what the drawers are for, right?
Oh, geez, no.
Truth time.
I mean, what I do with the duck sauce is I have a rotation with the duck sauce, right? So
Oh,
I leave the
interesting.
duck sauce in the fridge until I get more Chinese, and then I take the old duck sauce out and I throw it, and then I put the new duck sauce back in there. So it is a rotation. It could be
Okay.
like 3 or 4 month rotation, but it's a rotation.
So
Interesting.
I do the same with my soy sauce. And so, yes, I do have 4 or 5 packets of soy sauce, but then, when I get new ones, I use the old one, and it's a rotation.
Yeah.
It's only smart.
It's economical. These are
Yes.
trying times.
This movie is also so much about people holding on to their past and staying in their bubble and needing to move on. We've got Roz, obviously, Doris, who she's hoarding. She's been in this house that her mother and her lived in and then passed away. And how long has Doris been living in that house? Did they say?
Her whole life.
Her whole life.
Yeah.
Because it's her mother's home.
There's just a lot about, people holding on. Roz, even though it breaks my heart every time that, what's the name of the actress that plays Roz? Do we have?
Pin Daly.
Oh my God.
Love her.
The first scene that we hear Roz talk about her late husband, Tin has this beautiful moment where she's talking about her late husband, and it's the first scene where we hear her talking about it, and she looks at the picture of her husband on the wall, and she immediately starts going to tears. And oh my God, it's so beautiful. But I say that to say Roz is holding on to her husband, who has passed on. It's been 15 years, and to be fair, things like that you're never ever really over. You learn to move on from it.
Yeah.
But there is an element of holding on there with Roz as well. And I would say maybe with John a little bit, because John and Doris have that scene where they're talking about their past a little bit, and John has that trauma, that baggage that he's carrying from his last relationship, where I guess this woman left him, and he says now he worries that he's always boring.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's a lot of characters are holding on to stuff, whether it be literally, metaphorically, and I think that's a very interesting part of the story as well, in terms of coming into your own. And I think letting go. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I can completely relate to that. I have a difficult time. It's sort of ironic. I've had way too many conversations with Amy about this, but I have a difficult time like letting go of people that come into my life, right? But I've had way too many times in my life where people have not had a hard time letting go of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it really, really difficult. It's like I have huge issues with people that just seemingly I have this very close, intimate relationship with, even on a friend level, where we do everything together and we talk, bare our souls, and we, whatever, spend, every holiday together, what have you. And then all of a sudden, without explanation, they're just gone. They've decided they're over you. The door closes. I'm not even just talking about relationships, I'm talking about friendships. This has happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's my biggest fear, and it keeps, it's happened multiple times. And so now it's just like one of those things where I have PTSD, where I feel like everybody that I'm now meeting in my life is just all of a sudden one day just going to be gone and not answer the phone anymore and not respond to my text messages and stuff. And so I can relate a lot to, those characters in this film of just, there are things about their lives or their life story that they just are really having a hard time moving on from or letting go of, because it's like that trauma is become a part of them almost.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah. And this idea of letting go and like finding yourself that this theme has, because Doris, she, like her mother, is on the tendency of hoarding. Right. And we see the very first part, she's walking to work and she sees the lamp on the street, picks it up, and takes it,
Takes it.
And she just doesn't want to let things go. And like, oh, what a beautiful find. I might use this someday. And this holding on. And we see that all through the movie. And what I love about it is that she takes the risk with John, who's completely abnormal to her life. And that's the catalyst that gets her to let go of everything, because she does eventually clean out the house. She does let go of her job and try something new. Like, so it was John that was that catalyst that I just love, of letting go and making a choice for herself.
Do you think it was like a last straw thing? Because that's sort of how I interpreted the situation of like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had had so much trauma and so much stuff happened to her, and everything. Her mom had died, and they were trying to force her to throw away the stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the one thing that was holding her together was her friendship / relationship with John. And then that imploded. And she kind of, there goes Doris.
Yeah.
I mean, I see two things. I see for example, when the therapist or the psychiatrist comes into the house to help Doris throw things away, and Doris's brother and sister-in-law are there as well. And at one point the sister-in-law takes the pencil that Doris got from John. And oh my God, listeners,
not got, that she stole
right. Listeners, there's a beautiful moment where the sister-in-law of Doris is in Doris's house, and she takes the pencil that Doris stole from her love interest John, and it's kind of one of the moments that we see, Mark, as you said, the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I think it's the build up to that, where Doris snaps and she makes everybody leave the house, and there is this pain, this years and decades worth of pain that is coming out in this moment. And I could go on about it, and I'm not, because I could be on for forever talking about that scene. But I say that to say that I also think, in terms of holding on to things, I think that there is an element of Doris falling for John. And I think that maybe in some way she's trying to make up for what didn't happen with her fiance, because when she's delivering this monologue about being proposed to and describing her fiance, she's looking at John a little bit as if she remembers something. I think that's just a testament to Sally's performance as well. But I look at that moment and I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe John reminds her of something, and she's trying to make up for it now. And in that way, she's holding on. Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, when I absolutely see that, when we did the scene where she's talking to John at the cafe and was talking about her fiance, and when she said, and he has brown eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's John. Like, there was that connection right there in the scene. And yes, she is. There was some spark, and you just don't know when it hits you. And what I loved about Sally Field and how she portrayed it, like when she was listening to Baby Goya, what was that? What kind of music is it? Electronic? No, what is it called? Emo? I don't know. She hears this 60-year-old lady listening to electronic music that's like boom, boom, boom. And she allows herself to not judge the music, to feel the music. She starts jumping up and down just by herself, listening to it, giving yourself the freedom to enjoy the emotion, enjoy where you're at without having any expectations. I was just so impressed with her freedom and her movement and what she was doing, and how this relationship with John might be, like you're saying, a second chance.
Yes. Oh God, it makes it all the more heartbreaking. Listeners, please watch this movie.
It's so good.
It's so good. I promise I mean, there are moments where you're definitely going to cry, but you're not going to be left a heap on the floor. I promise you. It's just, it leaves you warm and fuzzy inside. Okay. Moving on to rewrites. So, if you could change something about this movie, what would it be and how?
In Shop Girl, if you remember, my critique was Steve Martin's character in that was kind of a stalker, creeper, like, you know, I don't know, going around trying to, you know, purchase a girl at the store. And my critique of this movie is the same. I think that behavior is just really creepy and cringy. And I've dated people that have driven around the block looking at my house to see if I was home. Like,
wait, what?
Yeah. So for me in particular, when I see things like this in the movies, I'm just like, so Doris, like, I'm going to forgive the stealing the pencil, as creepy as that was. When she starts legit following him and then creating the fake Facebook account and then messaging his girlfriend and all of that, I was like, girl, no, like, why? No. Like, I don't know. I honestly think the movie could have just been as good, if not better, had they written her to be slightly less of a psycho stalker. That's all. So I'll leave it at that.
There's definitely times where it's very cringy, like after their concert and they're seeing each other at work and she's got the coffee and she knocks on the door and, hi, and here's your coffee. Oh, I'll let you go. Yeah. And then comes in another time and he's like, yeah, I'm going to work during lunch. So if you could just shut the door. And she's like, okay, shutting the door. Goodbye. And I'm like, stop. That's too much. Gross. Go away, lady.
I
That didn't even bother me. I didn't like when she was following him on the street on his date.
That was hilarious.
I have a question though. I know I'm going slightly off script, but I do have a really quick question. So when Doris and John are leaving the diner and they're saying goodbye, he goes in to give her a kiss on the cheek. He took the action. I mean, everyone expresses affection in different ways. All people are different, but I don't go into kiss a friend on the cheek when I'm saying goodbye.
Matt, we kissed on the cheek.
When?
I kiss everyone on the cheek.
When did that happen?
Well, when I give hugs, I give you a kiss on the cheek.
Amy, I thought you just kissed me on the cheek. Oh my God. I thought I was special. Oh no.
You are special if you get a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Okay. That's like... I was like, I do that a lot, especially at STLV. Like Trek Amy does that a lot.
I mean, yes, I don't know.
But see, when it's platonic, that's all the more reason why, for me, John was completely platonic. So when the film changes at the very last scene where it's like, oh, something switched in John.
Maybe.
I still think that there was something behind him going to kiss her on the cheek. I could be reading into it too much. He made the act. He
was definitely flirty in that movie.
It was, yes, he was, and it was hot.
Oh, when it was hot is when,
oh my God.
when she was sitting on the bouncy ball, and
I wanted that scene to be read.
I thought about putting that in.
Oh my goodness. Well, we would need the sound effects. Oh my God.
I know. Oh my God.
It would have to work. Yeah, there's no other way we could do that scene without the sound effects. It's just, listeners, I'm telling you, it is a
we were all a little hot and bothered.
Which,
yeah, because she was like bouncing on the ball and like, whoo! I'm like, oh, you go, girl.
It will leave you steamy. There's moments in this movie where you're going, oh my God, it was not
okay.
Hold on, Doris. Do you want me to pull it out or should I put it back in?
In her imagination, where the spilled coffee and he takes off his shirt and he's like, oh my goodness, you did that on purpose. No. And he's like, oh, he lifts her up. Oh my gosh, just take me away right now.
Exactly. I would have said, yes, I did it on purpose. Yes, I did.
And then she's standing there with her mouth wide open. Doris, are you okay? Earth to Doris.
I know, the poor lady. Oh my, that was very awkward where she'd have these scenes go through her head and
Right.
it's playing it in the movie. So listeners, when you watch it, just notice sometimes it's her imagination and
Yes.
it's not real.
Usually when she's getting laid with the hot young guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Usually that.
Which, aren't we all at some point in our minds getting laid by the hot young guy? It's
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
yes. I will drink my pineapple Mandarin Mike's harder to that.
Oh, cheers.
Ah,
I don't know why all of a sudden I'm an old British man.
let's carry on. No. Also, if anyone is English, I apologize right now. I'm so sorry.
Listen, if after all of Scotland pretty much wants to kill me after this week's other two podcasts I've been on, we might as well write off the whole UK from me.
But listen, Mark, I am impressed that you have both a Scottish and a British accent. Because mine, it's just all the same.
Thank you.
Amy, did we go over your rewrite as well?
I don't really have a rewrite. What's yours, Matt?
I think my rewrite is probably just when Doris is saying goodbye, and all of the coworkers are just kind of, to me, they're like vultures looking at the stuff that she's packing away, and they're saying, "Oh, can I have this? Can I have that?" I mean, it starts off with them saying how much they're going to miss her, and then they get the stuff they want, and then they just leave, and it's just so trashy. I mean, there could be commentary there that I'm missing.
Yeah, can I jump in?
Please jump in, educate me.
This scene was so precious, so tender. And again, the social commentary on how younger people treat older people. Because at the beginning, when John was sitting and like, "Hey, do you know Doris?" They knew nothing about her. Well, she's quiet. I don't know. They knew nothing about her. Oh, the one guy knew that her mother had passed away recently. Yeah. But then after spending time with her, they actually wanted something to remember her by. What a transformation. Like, they wanted stuff that was important to her. They know she's a crazy cat lady. Oh, can I have that cat yoga calendar? Stupid, but specifically Doris. Right. Here's this thing. Oh, were you going to take good care of it? Yes, but I'm going to change its name, but I will take good care of it. Like, they wanted a piece of Doris because they finally got to know her and loved her.
I didn't pick that up. That is
so amazing. I read that into that scene. I was very happy that those coworkers, and I'm assuming like the lady who she did the knitting, like she made good quality friends who recognize what value she has to their lives as well.
It's true. Yeah. At the beginning, nobody would have cared if she packed up all of her stuff.
Right.
But then when she left, it was like a celebrity leaving and they all wanted an autograph or a picture.
That's beautiful. I am rescinding my rewrite. I'm so rescinding that. That's beautiful. I didn't look at it that way. Yeah.
Well, and when they were at the concert and she was spending her time like talking to the individual people, and the one that was like, "I'm teaching these transgendered kindergartner kids."
Yeah.
And, and she had these little conversations with each one, and then they ended at the table. And John's like, "Let's have a toast to Doris." And they all to Doris, like they saw what value she has. And I love that for the younger generation to recognize, the elders, if you will, because I'm getting to that age, you guys. I'm telling you, this is why you asked me on this show. I'm Doris.
On that note, I think we're going to go on to standouts.
This movie is like an Easter egg hunt of celebrities. I don't know how. Maybe they read the script. Maybe they heard Sally Fields was attached. But all of these great and wonderful character actors from either other television shows or feature films all came out of the woodwork for this. And I was like, people with like one line. And I'm like, oh, but you're the star of this other show, you know, or I've seen you in this major film, but you have like one line in this. But they all wanted to be a part of this, and I love that. Yeah, it was just the whole cast. I could go through all of the names. I'm not going to. There's just way too many. But there were some people that I noticed, like Natasha Lyonne, of course. She had like 3 lines of dialogue, but it's Natasha effing Lyonne, and I love her. And she's another like gay icon. And she's fabulous. So there's 2 gay icons in this movie. There's also it's Rich Sommer, and he was in Mad Men. I loved Mad Men. I was obsessed by Mad Men. He was also one of the people at the office here. There was, I think, one of the actresses from, is it Reno 911? I think the blonde cop lady. She's in this.
She's the fiance.
She's the fiance.
The fiance. The wife of the wife of Doris's brother.
And Doris's brother, in his own right, is Milton from Office Space. The stapler. That's my stapler. I was like, holy shit! Wow, so many great cameos in this movie. I just love the cast. It was gleeful for me to see all of their faces in this really cool, eclectic, weird film.
Listeners, I'm telling you, everybody in this film is just so appropriately placed, and even if they have one line, it's brilliant. It's a great, as Mark said, it's a great cast. Please watch it.
So who's John? Is that Max Greenfield? Is that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. You guys, I know him from The Neighborhood. Do you watch that on Paramount Plus? It's with Cedric, the entertainer.
Yeah, Cedric. Yeah, I have a friend that works, that's a PA on that show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love that show. It's so amazing, so funny. And Max Greenfield plays the neighbor who moves in from Wisconsin into Pasadena, California, and next to Cedric. Absolutely hilarious. Good comedic interracial connections, and it's just brilliant comedy, very fun. So I know him from that. And so when I saw him with Sally Field, I was like, oh my gosh, what a weird combination, because in The Neighborhood, he's not a sexy guy, but here, man, he's pretty damn sexy. So I'm that's a standout for me.
It's tingly in my nethers.
And one other thing I just really want to point out, I don't know who that actor was that played the granddaughter to Roz, who was helping Doris set up the fake Facebook account.
Yes.
She was so adorable. And the fact that Doris would she called up Roz, hey, can I talk to... It was like, what? But that they had this connection, and it's totally, when you're young, you're foolish, you jump into love. And here's this teenage girl saying, oh, he's so into you. He called you baller. He really likes you, and getting her all amped up. And I'm like, no, don't get amped up. And then you have Roz who's like, be careful. So you have these 2 spectrums, this opposites of, oh, this is so exciting. Oh, you better be careful. And so for Doris to navigate between those 2, I thought was just very, very lovely. And so hats off to the granddaughter there.
And there's something about the granddaughter's relationship with Doris kind of manifesting the metaphor of what the butterflies are like. It's like being young and innocent.
Yes.
And everything is exciting, and it's so appropriate for Doris in these early phases of getting to know John to feel this way. And it's like being a teenager. It's always like being a teenager in the very beginning when you're falling in love. There's simplicity. The story is so simple, but the themes and the content is so complex. And I think maybe that's why I love this movie. One of the reasons why I love this movie so much. It's so digestible, and it is so accessible. And I think at the same time, it makes you look at yourself. I feel like Doris all the time, whether it's me being awkward in a group of people with a certain mindset, or if it's, again, someone that is on this journey of choosing themselves and constantly making that choice of choosing themselves over and over again. If you can't tell, listeners, I love this movie. I love it so very much. Let's move on to some trivia.
All right. Well, at the time of release, Sally Field was exactly twice Max Greenfield's age. I love that.
This movie was shot in 3 weeks in Los Angeles and 3 days in New York City for exterior photography. That is really quick for a film. Are they saying they shot the film in a month?
I mean,
Right?
well, if you think about it, like the turnaround. So there was another movie, Heat, which was hilarious, but that movie was shot in a very short amount of time.
Well, when you're dealing with experts.
I mean, yeah, but also like, here I go with the Star Trek thing. Star Trek Generations was also a super quick turnaround, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like they went from the finale, All Good Things, right into filming Generations, and the movie came out in like the same year.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it's wild, but that's the business. But again, you're right, Amy, when you've got people that are just good at the work and know what they're doing, it's great. The date under Brooklyn's picture on the Facebook page is November 6th, Sally Field's birthday.
Oh, I love those little nuggets. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Max Greenfield played a young Peter Gallagher on the TV series The O.C.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Peter Gallagher, Willie Williams, the name of the character, guest starred in New Girl as Max Greenfield's father. Oh, wow. It's interesting how cyclical things are.
Right?
So they have appeared together as either the same character or father and son 3 separate times on screen.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet they hang out now. I bet they're friends.
I mean, they have to be. Also, like, you're both kind of keeping each other employed, like in some kind of way, right?
So, Baby Goya. I was actually a little impressed with this music. And I was texting Mark. I'm like, is this a real band? Like, do I need to get interested in this music? From what little I heard, I was very impressed. Dance like you're on fire. Come on, that's like lyrical. That's poetry.
Yeah.
So Jack Michael Antonoff, aka Baby Goya, is an American singer, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and record producer. Antonoff is the lead singer of the rock band Bleachers. So there is no Baby Goya band, but there is a real singer, Jack Michael Antonoff. And I loved how interested he was in Doris. Yeah. Again, this social commentary on how do young people view their elders.
I have a second rewrite that I want to toss in based on that trivia piece. And that is the assistant to Baby Goya, who kept throwing out the F-bombs and being really rude to Doris. I'm like, sure, these people exist, but I don't like these people in real life. I don't like him on screen either.
He was really rude, and it was me the wrong way too.
Not cool.
That actor is he was in SNL for a couple of years.
Yeah, that was trying to get her digits, and she's like, she just didn't understand. Of course, you're not going to know what digits are. So contrast that guy who was like, the digits, your effing digits, to what John did when he's like, fist pump, and she like grabbed it, but then he took the time, punch it, explode it, and star it, like he took the time to explain this new thing, and he's like, give me your effing digits. Like that contrast was really stark.
Kyle Mooney. That's the
that's Kyle Mooney?
I think that was that's Kyle Mooney.
Oh, weird.
Character's name is Niles, but that was played by Kyle Mooney from SNL. Jack also wrote the soundtrack for another film, Love, Simon.
Michael Showalter created the Wet Hot American Summer franchise and also directed the film The Big Sick, which I have not seen.
So when I saw this trivia, it makes so much sense to me now. Wet Hot American Summer, this movie. Have you seen Wet Hot American Summer or the show?
Never even heard of it.
It's got a very interesting cast, but essentially, I remember the show a little bit more than the movie because they took the same actors and they put them in a show that was briefly on Netflix. But they have these people in their 30s and 40s playing teens and 20-somethings at a summer camp. And it is ridiculous. So again, you have this sort of really oddball comedy, but there's this age difference with the characters, the actors they're playing, the other actors, because there's actually kids mixed in to the summer camp. But you have this guy that's like 47 and he's playing somebody that's 12 alongside people that are actually like 10 and 12. It's very bizarre. Yeah. So that when I read that he had been involved in that as well, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
So this movie, Hello, My Name is Doris, is based off of a short film by Laura Taruso, who wrote the screenplay for Hello, My Name is Doris. I couldn't find the details specifically of the short film, but I remember listening to the director's commentary for Hello, My Name is Doris. And the scenario in the short film is pretty similar to Hello, My Name is Doris, where it's someone older falling in love with, I think, an intern that's 19 years old. I could be wrong in those details, but overall, the details or the similarity between the short film and the movie is just that someone that's older is falling for someone that's significantly younger than them. And I'll read this one because it's a little personal.
You're not going to let me read this one?
Do you want to read it? Read it. Go ahead. Go.
Rebecca Wysocki is a Star Trek vet. 5 years after this film, she would go on to be in Star Trek Picard as Ramda. She has also been my acting coach. Wait, no, not mine. Wait. I'm guessing you meant you, Matt.
I meant me, and I was writing it as I was thinking it out loud. Rebecca Wysocki, for listeners that are Star Trek fans and have seen the first season of Star Trek Picard, there is a Romulan that is part of the Zhat Vash.
Is that the one with the curly red hair?
Yeah, the curly red hair.
Love her.
She was, oh my God, she was haunting and brilliant.
Yes.
And she's in Hello, My Name is Doris, as I guess the head manager of this company, and I guess slightly the villain to Doris because they have a banter. But yes, so 5 years after Hello, My Name is Doris comes out, she would go on to play Ramda, who was part of the Zhat Vash in Star Trek Picard. She was also my acting coach. Her and I had the same manager for almost 2 years. And when I would have an audition for something, sometimes I would like text her and be like, hey, can you help me out with this? And she'd give me some good direction. So kudos to you, Rebecca. I hope you're doing well.
And Amy, I love you, but okay, Matt, why didn't you invite her on?
Because I don't know her like that well. Like I would only reach out to her when.
Oh, you need to slide in those DMs.
There you go.
Also, she's on a TV show right now. I think it's on Paramount Plus.
She ain't on nothing right now. They're in a strike. You got time for this podcast. Rebecca, get your butt over here.
Slide into DMs like Rebecca. You're not doing anything.
We know you ain't doing shit.
That's awesome. You better tag her on Twitter, X, whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called.
Final thoughts.
We should give out this week, instead of like 5 stars, I was thinking either condiment packets, chewed pencils, ice skates, maybe lamps.
I don't know. I'm stuck between chewed pencils and duck sauce.
Duck sauce.
I want it to be duck sauce. Okay. I'll go first. Because I have such a soft spot for this movie, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 duck sauces. Sauce-I. If that's the plural. I love this movie so much. Yeah.
It was interesting watching it again because I watched it the night before and then I watched it again this afternoon before jumping on. And I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time, the second time. And that rarely happens, especially after such a quick turnaround. Because I'm like, oh, I already know what happens. But I was just thrown into Doris's life. And it didn't matter that I'd seen it not 12 hours ago. So that's how amazing Sally Field is. That's how good the story is written. There's so much to unpack. I mean, we didn't even delve into her sibling relationship with her brother.
Oh my God.
That whole mess.
There.
You're disappointed in me. Oh, don't get me started. There was so much there.
It's
delicious.
It is absolutely
her
delicious.
Sacrifice, which goes to the theme of this movie.
Yes.
Of her continual sacrifice for her mother, for her family, for her brother.
Yes.
And when he was like, well, I wouldn't have been able to get my career and start my own business. I'm like,
my stomach turned. My stomach literally turned the first time So
for her to make these sacrifices over and over for everyone else and then finally make that choice for her was so endearing, so empowering. It's very inspirational. So I'm going to give this 4 duck sauce out of 5.
Well, I don't know if I have something as eloquent to say, but I am going to give this movie 4.5 broken, chewed on pencils out of 5. Like what Amy said, it's like I watched it and I rewatched it, and the rewatch was just as good. And Andy actually had been sleeping, but he got up and started watching it with me and laughing out loud. And we ended up watching it together. And it's just one of those films where like it feels good and it sucks people in, and it's curious and it's different and it's original and it's brilliant. And so many reasons. I think that everybody should go and watch this film. Absolutely love it.
It's such a necessary story. Final thought on the film for me. Listeners, please choose yourself. Please do that. It is an active choice. It's not easy. It's something you got to do every day, but try to catch yourself in those moments where you're hurting yourself for someone else. Please choose yourself. That's all.
Yeah. Good show. Yeah.
Oh man. I'm so sorry if we have any listeners in England. Oh man. Oh gee. Oh gosh.
Oh, Governor, there's a couple of
don't do it
in old England.
Don't do it. You're gonna get us canceled. I'm gonna keep sipping my wine cooler.
We're gonna cover Mary Poppins next. Hey, Governor.
Hello, Governor.
No, please no.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissie and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissie and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev, a Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark. And Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio. What are you guys talking about next time, guys?
Well, Amy, I'm glad you asked. Because next week we have a very special episode that we've been planning this sort of all summer. Our friends over at History with the Szilagys, Chrissie and Jason, have been doing a lot of work this summer. You should check out their podcast, deep diving into the real, true story of the building of the atomic bomb and the life of Robert Oppenheimer. So to help out with our podcast next week, Chrissie and Jason are going to come on, and we're going to discuss the film, which they have watched a couple of times each, and I have seen as well. And they'll be coming at it from a historical perspective. Of course, the team here at Cinema Z, we'll be covering the cinematic side. I'm not sure how many scenes we'll get to act out because it's still in the theater. And I would have to see it 3 or 4 more times to write down a script. But I will try to at least get some, if I can, some dialogue that we can at least discuss. But I'm very excited about it, and I think our listeners are going to love it. It's our first time discussing a current film.
And since it is a Christopher Nolan film, we also have to think about the soundtrack, the Christopher Nolan womps.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Womp, dun, 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 womp, dun, 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 dun. If anyone gets that joke, I love you, and I love you forever.
So I didn't even give the synopsis. I'll give the synopsis really quick. Oppenheimer, a 2023 epic biographical thriller written and directed by Christopher Nolan, based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin Sherwin. The film chronicles the career of American theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. The film stars Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., and Florence Pugh. Also featuring Josh Hartnett, Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, and Kenneth Branagh. I wanted to put all that in there because I wanted our listeners to know how stacked this cast is.
I didn't know that Josh Hartnett was in this movie.
Yes.
Get out of town. Where's he been?
Oh, he's in it through the whole film too. He's like one of the main cast members.
It'd be so good to see him. I'm talking about him like I know him. I don't know him.
Oh, he's still a snack though.
I bet.
Oh,
I bet.
still a snack.
Oh my God. Tasty treat. Listeners, we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode, and we hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts on @CinemaZPod and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on Twitter, or I guess X as it's called now, BlueSky, and Instagram @BQN Podcasts. So, Amy, when can people find you when you are not getting your exercise ball pumped?
Oh. Well, we all know I like that. But when I'm not doing that, you can find me here on the network talking Star Trek, you guys. I'm on All Good Things with Mark. which covers all of Star Trek, Galaxy Class, and Union Federation. You can find me on Twitter/X at Miss Amy Nelson. But really, my favorite place, BQN Collective, our Facebook group. And Mark, where can people find you when you're not stalking and following people through the subway and the streets of New York?
No, not doing that. Definitely not doing that. No. So that's easy.
Yeah.
Instead of that, people can find me on Facebook, and I'm in the BQN Collective Facebook group. They can also find me on Twitter X, whatever, at Mark White 207. I'm also on BlueSky at MW207. I'm also on All Good Things with Amy, where we discuss Star Trek. And Matt, where can people find you when you are not creating a fake Facebook profile to somewhat look into the background of a potential date?
Oh gosh. Well, when I'm not doing that full time, you can find me at the BQN Collective on Facebook. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at 1701BLERD. It's about my web series about a gay black nerd using Star Trek to cope with life. I share updates about the web series and clips. You can also find me on TikTok as well. It's the title of the web series 1701, A Blurred's Story. There's some underscores in there. I messed up my name and separated the title in weird places. If you look at my videos on the Instagram page, you'll see the name. Yeah, just go on Instagram. You'll see the videos from TikTok, and then you can find me there. Listeners, please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we would love to thank our associate producer, Amy Nelson. And a special thanks to Laz Marquez. Oh, we love you, Laz, for our artwork each and every week. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of just $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll tune in next time.
Okay, I'm leaving. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Okay.
Well, that's, it's your guys' fault because now my drink is gone and now the festivities can begin. Like, we're just out there.
All you getting pissed, Amy. Okay. I'm not allowed back in that country. There's just no way.
There's no way. When Mark goes to put up his passport to TSA.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like
banned.
There's an X that just comes across the screen like, sir, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Please vacate the premises.
Go somewhere else. We don't want you. You and your accent, go away.
Please. You've been put on the no-fly list.
I'll be like, all right, I guess I know I'm not wanted.
Oh, no.
I really need to stop.
Man.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay. All right.